Managing and determining the effectiveness of an information security or risk management program is probably one of the most difficult tasks that you can do. Typically, you can do your own internal audits to identify where you think you are effective based off the controls or mitigations you've put in place. But typically, bringing in a third party to do a unbiased opinion and getting a judgment of where you are with your security program is probably one of the most cost-effective and beneficial ways that you can manage your program. I think sometimes from a corporate perspective, it takes an outside party who doesn't have any potential bias in what the decision is to come in and make that determination for you about your effectiveness. Because I think sometimes internal stakeholders, the C-suite, even though they trust their managers and their VPs and their CISO or their VP of risk to come up with these effectiveness decisions, sometimes a third party needs to come in. Contrarily, if you want to use an internal party to build up the effectiveness, obviously looking at your risk register and how you're mitigating risk across that, what the costs are associated with those risk remediation programs, and the effectiveness of those programs and the overall collective risk of the business is probably the best way to do it.
Really coming down to figuring out how effective your risk management program is comes down to data again. How do you measure how well you're doing? It really comes down to, have you had incidents that are really the actualization that a risk has occurred? The closer you are to achieving your objectives and not having pitfalls on the way really highlights that you've understood and made good decisions on preventing those potentials to not achieve those objectives from happening.
Measuring effectiveness, this is a hard one, just because it can be done so many different ways, depending on the size of your program, the maturity of your program, what industry you're in, even your geographical placement in the world. A few things that we see across a gamut of customers. One would be some of the more mature risk management programs are quantifying risk over time. So they're not being qualitative, high, medium, low. They're actually defining annual loss frequency and annual loss expectancy, and they're modeling that and providing that as insights back to the business. Another more common one, I would say, and for less mature customers, is starting to try to quantify and measure impact on revenue. So a good example might be, hey, we're a tech company or a finance company, and we're getting ready to launch a new product, right? Now, launching that new product means new revenue to the company. Very exciting time for all of us, but we have this process that we need to go through when we launch new products. And there's a lot of risk assessments and making sure that we're controlling access to data and private information correctly, making sure that we're encrypting certain information if it should be encrypted. Those are a lot of different risk assessments. And if the risk management program is actually able to speed all of that risk assessment process for the product launch, the product hits the market faster. And if the product hits the market faster, then more revenue comes in. So that's actually managing risk for reward. And that's a really great way, I think, to measure effectiveness of a program. Another example would be M&A. If you're an acquisitive company and you have a process for M&A around doing risk assessments, the faster that acquisition happens, theoretically, the faster you get the benefit of making that deal. And so sometimes we see customers quantifying the effectiveness of their program in that lens as well. And then last, I would say, and this is more just financial in nature, many of our customers have dedicated budgets for their risk management program. And that budget is a combination of people, infrastructure, technology, and sometimes even consulting, right? And being able to get more out of that spend over time and show more value back to the business is incredibly important.